Alright.
What is up? Bobson Dugnut here, and I'm terrifyingly aware of the fact that history repeats itself. Today is March 27th, 2024, and that means that it has been exactly 3 years since I began my experiment. Now, what was this experiment that I speak of? There's no real way to explain it in a simple manner. I mean, this video's runtime is probably a testament to how hard it is to explain, because I want to try in this video to explain the entire thing without missing any important beats, but cutting out most of the fluff, which that is debatable on how much of it is fluff, because none of it is real, none of it matters, none of it exists anymore. To put it in one word, I would describe the experiment as convoluted. You see, it doesn't make sense, is what I'm trying to say. It's hard to talk about because it's so out of nowhere, nothing fits together. But really what it was just a amalgamation of just digital media that I made in the year 2021, just stuff that I filmed, photographed, whatever, and just attempted to post it all on the internet for some sort of story value or alternate reality game. Now, I hesitate to call it an ARG or alternate reality game because there really is no game. The most gamey features of it are just some cryptic messages or some, binary code or base 32 that I would have to translate into something else that was cryptic but ultimately didn't mean anything. So, it utilized mainly YouTube. It was mainly a YouTube channel. The main focus was a YouTube channel, but I also had a Reddit account and subreddit, they went hand in hand. It was the subreddit and the YouTube channel. This video is going to be basically just me rambling about something that does not matter because it has not existed in over 2 years. I'm just kind of talking. I don't have any sense of direction or script that I'm writing. I'm just gonna yap, essentially, to a camera. But let's start with the camera, because the camera that I'm recording this video on is the camera that I took and recorded all of the videos for the experiment. So I was given this camera because, so a little background on me. I we'll just say found footage genre stuff. I was into that kind of stuff, horror movies, analog horror videos on YouTube. But basically, throughout the pandemic times, or the early pandemic times, as I don't really call it that, but we'll just say like 2020 to 2021, I was basically just stuck inside watching just random videos on YouTube, and I took a liking to just the kind of found footage style ones because I don't know. And I tried several more before the experiment, just with other cameras that I found laying around. I had one where I was gonna plant. It was supposed to be a normal gardening channel, which just turned off the rails, but it didn't happen. I took random pictures and videos of me just walking around the woods at night, or just random stuff shining through a grate. It was just a bunch of stuff. I don't know what it was. I was just trying stuff out, and so when I got this camera, I decided to make something like that with it. The problem was I didn't really know how to work this camera yet because I didn't want to read the manual because I don't know. So I think it was November, was when I got it, tried it, didn't really work out, put it away. January of 2021, I started, I was like, okay, well, let's see what we can do with this. I took a few pictures, a video, whatever. I wanted, because I didn't know what I was going to make. I didn't know of the extent of the experiment. Even when I created it, I had no idea what extent the experiment would have. But I was just kind of planning on just, doing something, recording random videos like the ones I described, and just going along with it. It wasn't until March of 2021 when I got the idea, hey, let's make a little mystery like ARG series-ish thing. And again, that was mostly boredom, but you know, I just wanted to try something out. It was whatever. So I only those first few pictures I took in January, they were quickly forgotten about. But I didn't start again until March, specifically March the 8th. Dates are very important to me in the context of this explanation because they would prove to be kind of the main factor of why I did certain things on certain times and the whole basis of everything. But again, that's a whole thing to explain, and I will have to get to that somewhere in this video. But anyways, before I really delve into it, I have another channel, and on that channel there is a playlist of, it's around like 40 videos. Each of them are pretty long, of me explaining certain parts of the experiment. So this is kind of going to be a summary of all of those videos. I have no idea why you would want a detailed summary of every single thing that I did during the experiment, then I cannot imagine anyone besides me, future me, looking back on that. So don't even try to waste your time because you're probably not even watching this video. Anyways, so where was I? March the 8th is when I kind of started taking more pictures, videos. You know, it was like I was trying to create that atmosphere in like an early on in a found footage movie, like a horror film or whatever. You know, there's a sense of normalcy. You know, it's just like, you know, random candid footage that suddenly becomes like horror or anomalous or whatever. You know, just like that quiet before the storm. You know, nothing is wrong. You know, the conflict hasn't been introduced yet. It's just, you know, random camera footage. But the point that I wanted to do was I didn't know where to go from there, so it was just that footage, you know, just the exposition footage where nothing happened. So that's where it started. You know, I took several pictures, videos, and I didn't really know where I was going with it at that time, but by the 27th of March, I kinda did. So I took several videos in March, whatever, pictures and videos around my church, around my, like, the place where I went to homeschool co-op, and it was just, you know, I just took pictures of my life and just stuff that was happening in my life. I wasn't, like, going out to specifically film specific stuff. I was just, you know, let's just take random pictures, videos, whatever, you know, whether it be just a conversation between people at a church or me in the car while my dad's listening to flat earth theories for some reason, or me attempting to pet my cat, who's also sitting right there. But then gunshots happen, and that's just because of where I live. That's not like a horror thing, but I kind of implemented into. Anyways, where was I? See, this is going to be most of the video, me just like rambling. I'm probably not going to, there's very little editing going to be done on this video, I can already tell, because I cannot freaking bother to do that right now. Anyways, and I had this idea, you know, just all of these videos I'm taking, I kind of wanted it to be into something, I didn't know where to go from it, but on March 25th, specifically that day, I had the idea. I'm going to make an ARG out of this, or an ARG pseudo whatever. I'm going to make a YouTube channel with all of the videos that I take with this camera, and I'm going to make a Reddit account and a subreddit where I post all of the pictures that I take on this camera. And I was going to do all of the videos and pictures, like every single picture and video that I took with this camera, I was planning on posting to the internet via YouTube or Reddit. And so that's exactly what I did. You know, I took more pictures and videos of just stuff that happened. Some of them were more interesting than others. I mean, some of them were just like still camera shots of like. Some of them were just like still camera shots of trees, whatever. Some of them were over 15 minutes long. I mean, this specific camera can't make video files over 20 minutes long. So on March 25th, I had the idea to create something. I didn't really know what I was going to do with it, but I did something with it. And the joke was, I'm going to make an ARG that doesn't make sense, and it's not supposed to make sense. None of these things are cryptic. It's just random candid footage that I took with my camera. As I said, you know, exposition footage in a horror movie. You know, there was no symbolism going on. You know, I was going to do random title, random description that's sort of cryptic but doesn't mean anything, and random titled Reddit post, because it was just random. I was into like just like spontaneity. I almost said that wrong. Did I say that? I don't know. And, you know, I never even wanted a story. I just wanted it to be like, you know, maybe someone comes across it, thinks, oh, what's... let me dig a little deeper into that, because that's a little strange. You have numbers and letters in your title, and there's something cryptic going on in the description. But again, if you delve any further than surface level, it's just going to be nothing. So that's exactly what I did 2 days later on March 27th. Why I waited 2 days is because March 27th is a significant day for me from something else, and we're not going to get into that, but whatever. So, March 27th, the experiment begins. I create the YouTube channel, and the YouTube channel is called Experimental, just Experimental. That's the name of the channel, and I post the videos from January. Those very small amount of content that I made in January, and I posted the corresponding videos from that to Reddit. I created a Reddit account called Experimental 2011. I will explain the 2011 bit, but the Reddit account was called u/experimental 2011. I created a subreddit called Experimental TV, and I began posting pictures. Again, none of it had anything to do with anything. But as time would turn out, and as I kept posting more and more pictures and videos, essentially I stopped making it about nothing, and I started like actually trying to put meaning into these pictures and videos that didn't actually contain anything. So essentially, the plague that happened, or the curse of me and whatever I tried to make, is that it started off as completely being random. Nothing was supposed to make sense. It was supposed to be random expository footage, as I've said a lot. But I started trying to actually make a story with it. I was like, okay, but then this and this can go together, and I can actually make something out of this. And that's where I went wrong, because I should have never done that, because that became the detriment to my life. This whole experiment became the detriment to my life. I had no end goal for the project. I had no idea where it was going, and that in that moment it was kind of fun, you know, just like random whatever, haha, funny whatever. But around the time that I thought of the idea, around like the 25th through the 27th, I kind of stopped taking random pictures and kind of made my pictures a little more mysterious just for effect. So there was just like random videos of me walking around in the forest and saying strange things, but you can't really hear my voice because of the wind noise. And more gunshots, and there's a video of it's literally just a chair sitting in the woods and me walking up to it and kicking it over. I didn't know what that was going to mean yet, but it did. And so in between, and I think that video that I referenced there with the chair, I think that was filmed on the 25th of March. Before that, I had recorded exactly 27 videos between then or January, when I first started taking pictures. And I started posting them in videos and whatever, and I would always say, I never lied about the date. I never lied about the date of the picture or the video that I took. It was always, like, if it was taken on March 27th, I would say in the description or in the comments of the Reddit post, recorded March 27th. The only thing that I changed was the year. Where it was 2021, I changed it to 10 years earlier, 2011. And part of the reason why I started doing that was because of, again, like the horror, the analog horror, found footage kind of a thing. Because if you make it seem just a little bit more dated, it seems more mysterious, right? So in all of my pictures, it was like, you know, recorded March 27th, 2011, which in reality it was recorded March 27th, 2021. That's the only change that I made to the dates. Everything else about it was honest. And 2011, I really had no reason to pick 2000. It was just because it was like 10 years earlier and I had no other, you know, way to do it. So I was just like, okay, we'll go with this. And that's why the name of the Reddit account is Experimental 2011, because apparently whatever happens here takes place in 2011, which it didn't. Now, as I said, I was very interested in different kind of analog horror videos, ARGs, that kind of stuff. You know, I was involved in them at that time. Some of them are still going on today. Some of them have passed on, rest in peace. But one that I was heavily interacting with at the time was called Walker Creek by Alex Hara, and it was really fun. It was really interactive. It told a story, not just through the analog horror videos, but through the Discord, where everyone, you know, there were like actual characters, and you could actually solve a lot of puzzles that led to hidden parts of the story, and that was really fun. And it used codes, and that's really the reason I'm bringing it up, is because it used a lot of different codes and ciphers and, you know, just encoding practices that I thought were really interesting. So I was like, why not include this in my thing? Not for any story reasons, of course, but just to make it random, right? Right? And that's what I began doing it for. Yeah. So anyways, I made a message, like kind of a joke message. It was directed at myself. It was kind of vulgar. I encoded this joke message, and I planned for it to be like, you know, the first big code or whatever, to reveal whatever. It was a veneer cipher, and it's the message, I encoded it with a specific key, and the encoded messages, I placed them all in random, I randomized it, like, you know, I scrambled the coded message, and placed each of the letters of the cipher into the descriptions. So like if they're, you know, the description will just say something random, but one of the letters is capitalized out of place, or, you know, or lowercase out of place, or whatever. You know, there's always like one letter in each of the descriptions that's different, and that's the encoded letter, but which order to put them in. So I put the title of the video, you know, the title was just a random word or phrase or whatever, but then I put a number which corresponded, like 0, then the title, and then 1. So that video would be first. So whatever letter was in the description of that video, that would be the first in the encoded, and, you know, it went all to title 7, and that was the 27th one, and whatever letter was there was the last one. So when you put them all together, when you rearrange all of the letters, it spells a gibberish phrase. And then, when you get that gibberish phrase all correctly lined up, then you use the key to decode it. And where is this key? It is on my subreddit. It is on one of the posts. Specifically, I don't know if I'm going to edit in like pictures of the posts, but this one. It's going to look really funny if I'm just pointing to nothing, because I didn't edit anything in. But anyways, yes, the key is Halo. Halo is it becomes important, okay? Let's just say that. Halo becomes a very important aspect of the experiment, while it wasn't. And by the way, just the titles of some of these posts, they're random, right? So, because I'm, you know, the encoded message was a joke. It wasn't a real cryptic thing. I was putting it in because it's random. And wouldn't it be funny if someone stumbled across it thinking, oh, this is some serious thing to crack. There's seriously something going on underneath the surface. And then they get that joke, and then it's like, oh, great. And it turns them off from the investigation. I thought it would be like kind of funny to do that. But little did I know is that I would be doing stuff like that for serious purposes, or for like actual story value later on, because again, I'm trying to make this into a story when I never originally wanted it to be. So here we have, you know, just a lot of them. Like this one, like one of them mentions fish. Fish becomes a big thing. Grass becomes a big thing. I'm using different things, and again, what these things mean, it's difficult to decide because I kind of just made it up as I went and changed it as I went, and whatever fit. There was no linearity to anything. The only linearity thing was the dates of stuff, and it was, so that's how it began. Like, let's just say the first, you know, few weeks going into April, it's just like, oh yeah, let's take some videos, take some pictures, don't really know what they're doing to it, and yeah, let's post them. And again, they were posted a little out of sync. Like, for instance, you know, the videos from January were posted on March 27th, and the pictures from, you know, later, like, let's just say, like March 18th, I was posting those pictures on, like, April 5th or whatever, you know. It was a little bit out of sync. And that became, it was like a little bit of a disconnect, because when I take the pictures, I don't really know what I'm doing, but when I'm looking through them and I'm posting them, I'm kind of figuring it out. Like, it's like, oh, I can use this picture and say this to mean this, and it was like, yeah, it became very, very convoluted very, very quick. And, you know, it was supposed to be convoluted, but it became even more so to me because I was actually trying to make it into a story. And like I said, that's where everything went wrong, completely wrong. So what I'm doing here with my phone is I'm looking through the old subreddit, and just like, I have to kind of jog my memory because it is a lot that I have to remember. And the subreddit, which I am on right now, is actually the only part of the experiment that still exists today. The YouTube channel is gone. So this is all I have left. I don't have it on my computer. I deleted the entire folder forever, probably. There's a few that are still on the computer just because of a OneDrive issue, and I didn't know it was on OneDrive, and apparently I found out, and I was like, oh, I don't want the rest of my family seeing this, so I took it off of OneDrive. But those very first few pictures and videos are still on there from before that. But
oh my gosh, can I push you? Please? Please? I had a million dreams. Are you doing a video?
whatever. So as I'm going through here, I'm seeing a lot of things that I would like, you know, put into later things, like Ukrainian text. I would take a phrase, sometimes cryptic, sometimes whatever, and translate it into Ukrainian for added random mysteriousness. Just Ukrainian text on a picture of, like, me in the reflection of my bedroom window, or another person with their face blurred out. And that's another thing that I'm going to talk about, because several of the pictures that I took, I had edited them, like, very slightly. And by slightly, I mean if the picture shows a person's face clearly, then I would place an image above their face, and it would usually be of grass. Yep, grass. So grass is very important, and grass is a kind of a symbol I used for people. The greener the grass, the better, and if the and I guess it was like kind of like relationship-wise, like how comfortable I would be telling my personal secrets to this person. I guess that's what it means. Like connection. Connection is the greater the connection, the greener the grass. And so if a person had a picture of green grass, it meant that I trusted them, and I essentially liked them. But the grayer or browner the grass, it was not, until the grass catches on fire. and then it becomes a fish. Yeah, I talked about fish earlier, and that becomes something, because fish are basically everything that I didn't like at the time, about, I want to say, organized religion, because you have to understand, personally, I was very angsty at the time of making this whole project, and I was kind of very anti-religion, anti-whatever at the time. So if you were a fish, you were bad. I didn't like fish because they were hyper-realistic people that I couldn't talk to, because they would not like me for who I am, and that's whatever. So that's what that means. So that's the whole cycle of grass to fish. Now, I specifically would put a cloud over my head for no reason. I'm looking at the stuff from March 18th, which was posted on April 18th, so there's a month gap in between them. And here the theme, by April, I was coming up with themes. I was coming up with a story. And so, actually, you know what? I'm gonna talk about this somewhere else where it's a little bit easier to understand, okay? So, kind of to help visualize what I was talking about earlier, my 30-minute yap session, is I made this little chart to help kind of see where I recorded something and when that something was uploaded. I wanted to do everything in chronological order, so, of course, you know, this stuff would come before this stuff, obviously, but that also meant that, like, literally the order that I took pictures and videos in, it had to be posted that. So if I, for instance, I took a photo and then I recorded a video and then I took 2 more photos, I would have to, and I would make myself do it for no particular reason. I mean, it's not like anyone saw it or cared, but I would have to post that first picture on the Reddit, and then I would have to upload the video, and then I would post the other 2 pictures. It wasn't like I could just post all the pictures in one day and all the videos, like, in order, but just disjointed. I had to do it really, really specific like that, and it's just stuff like that which complicates things even further for me, which I definitely didn't need. So, for instance, let's say I recorded something on March 8th. I eventually uploaded whatever I recorded that day around March 29th. And this is true for, like, March 18th. I kind of posted all the stuff from there in mid to late April, and so on. Now, it does get a lot more heavy on the uploading in May, because that's when I had to post everything, and I really wasn't recording as much in May because that's when it ended. Really, the end came around this spot is where I planned on ending the filming and everything, and this is when I planned to end the uploading session of everything. So, yeah, so there's a big disconnect. Like, at some points it's like a whole month that goes by between me taking a picture and then posting it. Now, another thing about the subreddit that I forgot to mention earlier is that if you do, for some reason, want to go there and just see all of the weird stuff that I posted there, all of the pictures, you're gonna have to do it in chronological order, because, again, it follows a story, more of the titles of the posts more than the actual pictures themselves, but it does follow kind of a literary, like, it goes, it's like kind of like a story, the way the titles of the posts are, or whatever. So what you're going to have to do if you do visit the subreddit is that you're going to have to go there and then scroll all the way to the bottom and then work your way up through the story. So that's a thing. And also, another thing that I just remembered is, so uploading a video to YouTube is simple enough. You get it from the camera, SD card, into the computer, and you upload it straight to YouTube, and no edits, nothing. But with pictures, it was a little bit more difficult, and I'm not quite sure why, but I couldn't just take the picture directly from my computer and upload it to Reddit. I don't know why that wouldn't work. It definitely should have, I think, but it somehow didn't. So that means I needed to get the pictures from the camera onto my phone, and I didn't have an interface, like a cord to properly connect the two. And instead of, using a USB cable from the computer to the phone, I decided that I was just going to send the pictures to myself on Discord and then try to get them from Discord. But for some reason, I couldn't just download the picture from Discord on my phone. So here's what I had to do. So I sent all of the pictures to myself on Discord, and I got Discord on my phone, and instead of downloading the picture like I probably should have been able to, I had to screenshot the picture. So all of the posts on the Reddit are actually screenshots that I took and cropped the borders out or whatever, which is probably the least orthodox way I could have done that, but what the hell. I mean, a lot of the posts do have little edits just from the gallery photos, whatever editing software, the really simple thing, but a lot of them do have little text references and just secret stuff, whatever. But again, none of it really means anything substantial. It's just a bunch of just random stuff. So again, I also wrote down the kind of little things that symbolize things. Like we got green grass means trustworthy, dead grass means untrustworthy. If it gets too dead of a grass, it becomes a fire, which is kind of like a salvation kind of a deal. It's also paralleling to religion, because I was angsty and anti-religion at that point. And fish, which means ultra-religious, aka the enemy. Yeah. And of course the chair in the woods represents God for some reason, or some holy power that I kicked over, aka I killed. So yes, I did kill God, and that was a whole arc in my thing, because after that the coded titles of the videos was over. And so now I was on to more things, and this was around the same time as this, around around May 1st is when I started posting them. By May 1st, I had already recorded all of that. So when I was taking the pictures, you start to see the patterns. When I'm taking the pictures, I really don't know what they're going to be used for, but by the time I'm recording them, I have more of a full idea of what I'm doing and what I'm planning to do. So that's kind of the cause between the really big disconnects between March 27th and May 1st. So yeah, and I don't want to get into every single thing I did, because there's a lot of just random stuff that I did. I'm just going to go over a few big themes that kind of persist, and that I really just made them up along the way, but they turned into the whole story, if you can call it a story. So this is the main theme or plot elements that are in here. So one of them is I am God. Yeah, and it's kind of a weird hypocrisy here, because I killed God, right? I just kicked the chair over, and that's what that was supposed to mean. But I'm thinking it was more of I am rivaling against another God, which happens to be the Christian God, and I overtake him, I overpower him, and then now I am all powerful. Except I'm not all powerful, because I am trapped. I am trapped in my home. And this is personal. This is a personal anecdote here, because I did really feel trapped in my home and my life, because it felt like my parents were controlling every single thing I did. I never went outside unless it was to places that I didn't really want to go. This was COVID, I was homeschooled, it was really frustrating. My social life took a really big dive, and now we're getting too personal, but it did really heavily influence the themes of this story. So I was very unhappy with my predicament in life in this story, so I felt trapped. There's the theme of escapism, where I wanted to leave. this house. I call the area in which I live the greenhouse. The greenhouse is synonymous to my home, is synonymous to my prison in the ARG whatever. But here's the other thing, is that this isn't just a prison, it's a prison I made. So trapped in a this is all a simulation, right? Because I am God, as I clearly stated, and as it's very clear at all, that's not sarcasm at all, this whole world, this greenhouse, this prison that I've locked myself in, is actually of my own making. So there's a lot of posts that deal with like programming and just like really like technical elements that I didn't even understand. So it was just a bunch of buzzwords really about like coding and just, you know, creating a fake world for me to live in, which eventually became this greenhouse, this prison that I'm trapped in. So really I am the boss of the greenhouse. The only thing I can't do is leave. And that is also kind of, it's very meta. You have to understand, this is very meta because the simulation and being trapped in here is actually kind of representative of me in this experiment. Because this experiment kind of took over my life. It was kind of the only thing that I wanted to do creatively. It was just the only thing I really thought of at this point in time was the experiment. And it just completely took control of my life. In this section and in later sections, which I'm not even going to get into right now, but it was very, very much overbearing on all of my creative decisions, and I felt trapped in this experiment. I couldn't stop making videos, I couldn't stop adding it, and I really didn't like this story that much, but you know, because that's what's happened when you wing it or you make it up as you go along. But another theme is there was also a lot of religious themes. You know, as I am very anti-religion, anti-establishment, anti-parents in this whole thing, I do incorporate a lot of religious text or religious imagery, codes relating to Bible verses, specifically Bible verses for telling of the end of the world. Spell that right? I think I did. So yeah, apocalypse theme. I was always referencing the end of the world, which would also kind of be the day that I escaped this greenhouse. So that was the parallel there. And you'll notice it ended on May 21st. That's when all of the videos were done posting. And that was a decision that I made kind of halfway through around like this area, because 2011 is the year that I just slapped on all of the pictures as saying it was created then. And then 2011, of course, wasn't the actual year. Of course, it was 2021, but 2011 was more of the world that I created, less of an actual year and more of just the title of the simulation or the greenhouse or whatever. But one thing that did happen in the real 2011, the real year, is that some guy just said, hey guys, God is coming back on May 21st, 2011. And a lot of people believed him, and a lot of people actually thought that the end of the world was come. That is a real historical event. And I took that and I ran with it. I ran with this random guy's prediction. There is I think there is one whole section of the Reddit where it's just me listing a bunch of dates where like the end of the world was at one point prophesied, like Y2K and the 2012 thing, which yeah. So yeah, I was being very prophetic in this whole thing, especially in the later posts, like around this area when I really started hammering in all of the different things from all of this time period. I really wanted to hammer in that the end of days is coming, you know? The end of the experiment, right? So, yeah, I was very much preaching the end of the world, even though I was against religion, and that's where it doesn't even make sense to me. Now, I guess it made more sense to me as a 15-year-old, but whatever, because it's like, it's breaking through, because this world, well, the greenhouse, or 2011, whatever world that I created, this simulation, I was going to end it. I was going to just break out of it and then destroy it, much like I had destroyed the God, which doesn't really fit into the rest of the story, but whatever, because none of it makes sense anyways. So there's a lot of creationism, or, you know, there's like a lot of creation. There's themes of creation. I kind of, yeah. Yeah, I create a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff talking about me creating worlds. Because I am God, right? So I'm making all of this stuff. There's a whole section where I'm just building a Lego set, and that's me creating another world. They're supposed to symbolize that. Yeah, so there was a lot of just like me not really happy with myself. I was very self-loathing in the posts and in the videos, in the descriptions. Of course, I never actually said anything in any of them, except when you can like hear just people talking in the background, I guess, in some of the videos. Anyways, so there's a lot of like dialogue, like self-dialogue within the posts, which is why it's important to read it in the correct way by going all the way down to the bottom and going up, because it's like I'm having a lot of conversations with myself about, you know, pros and cons of doing this experiment, and just like, should I leave, should I stay, you know, a lot of just like in my head conflicting statements just going around. I'm also talking to another character, which I briefly mentioned earlier, Halo, which I think I talked about was the key to the veneer cipher in the titles of the first like 27 videos, and that whole thing. But Halo actually became more of a character, one that I confided in the story, just within like kind of like a just some entity in my mind that I could just like, you know, find whatever, like just to talk to that wasn't myself, someone that actually, it was the voice of something that could actually like understand me, something else, and it was kind of like an imaginary friend, if that makes sense. It kind of grew a little bit weird later on, like around here near the end of the whole experiment, where it was kind of making it seem like I was growing too attached to Halo, because again, they were an extension of the experiment and the greenhouse and the world that I made. So it was kind of difficult, I guess. I kind of forget a lot of the actual idea that I had at the time. Probably wasn't anything, but you know, looking back on it, it kind of appears as the kind of the trope of, you know, falling in love with an imaginary friend, which is arguably a little weird coming from a 15-year-old guy like me at the time, but I digress. Around this area, so around May 1st through like May 5th or whatever, I was going through a bunch of stuff from March like 20th, whatever, just or March 30th, and there's a few posts in a particular where I'm just like just doing stuff in the dark or whatever, and then I put some YouTube links in there again with the edited text, because I did edit a lot of these to just say random stuff. But these YouTube links did lead to unlisted videos, which were just pictures of grass, both of them, two separate videos, and which don't exist anymore. Those YouTube links don't work. Each of these videos was an SSTV like encoding software that just kind of encodes a picture into words. So you decoded that audio signal in those videos, and it would lead to another two images with another with another two YouTube links, both of which again don't work because the entire channel is deleted, which lead to two more unlisted videos of me, like actually me, in my room. And actually those were just videos my dad took with that camera, but again, because I have to post everything that this camera took, I had to post those even though I didn't want to, because they showed my face, so I found a way to hide them through a little bit of trickery, and that I posted them around that time. Anyways, yeah, there's a lot of different stuff, and also just because of the sheer the sheer compression on a lot of these pictures, because they are like, they're sent through Discord and then they're screenshotted and then they're cropped, and it's like, it ruins the compression. So a lot of them are horribly compressed, even to the point where you can hardly even read the text that I added on to there several times, and it's kind of funny, honestly. Anyway, a lot of stuff happens, but then something changes. I'm wondering, how am I going to end this? Because by like April 24th, I'm just wondering, all right, how far can I go? I kind of have the idea of me ending it on May 21st, but I don't really know how to end it in my footage, right? So that changes when I take a family trip, a vacation, to Canyon Lake, in late April, around April 28th, which is actually the day that I finished the video. But anyways, so this vacation, there's a lot of videos and pictures relating to it because it is a vacation, and I took several things in just 4 days, which understands this little gap here, because a lot of the stuff that I took directly before this was posted throughout it, because it was a lot, and it was kind of just me gathering like final, just thoughts and pieces as I prepare to break out of the system, break out of my simulation. So yeah, that all led to it was just a bunch of pictures of me just like going around like San Antonio. We saw the Alamo. The Alamo's on the Reddit. There's a dam. My camera died at one point. Whatever. Anyways, and then we get to April 28th, specifically around 3 in the morning. See, I wanted the end to be kind of profound, if you will. So what I did for that is that I waited until about midnight and snuck out, not really out of our like Airbnb, but the place had like a huge balcony, so I just went out onto that balcony all night and just kind of filmed a bunch of videos of just like out at the landscape in the night, or out at the moon, or just a video in the very low lighting on the balcony of me dancing around. Yeah, majority of those were also unlisted because those were kind of like the leading up to the final thing, so I only made them available via links from the Reddit and everything, and that was a whole deal. There was also a deal with the closed captions on those videos, each spelling out a piece or fragment of another video, and this final video, in kind of like the story fashion, is of me talking to the camera for the first time. It was around like 3 to 4 in the morning, and I was just sitting out. It's just a view of out at the landscape again, but this time I'm kind of talking in the background, talking to the like imaginary viewers, because of course no one saw it to that extent. Of course I only had like, my biggest video at that point was like, had maybe 15 views. So yeah, nothing came to light as I planned it, but that's fine. And it was just me talking about like the experiment. It was me kind of opening up more like personally, talking about like personal, reasons for the experiment, and kind of just like allowing myself to get my actual opinion out and whatever. And yeah, that one was hyper unlisted because you had to go through all the other unlisted videos to get to that one, much kind of like the other ones where I appear on the screen. And so eventually we get to May 21st, kind of almost a full month since the final video, but here I finally, I'm just really just going in on posting everything. So I post most of the stuff within the month of May, and finally finish by posting those final videos from April 28th on May 21st. Although there was 1 or 2 more videos that I recorded on April 28th, actually during the daytime, also on the balcony, but one of them is a kind of a 20-minute epilogue of just out at the landscape again during the daytime as a thunderstorm moves in closer to the camera, and at the very, very end of it, like right before the video cuts off, I walk in front of the camera and don't say anything because the video cuts off, but that's the end. That is the final video I posted to my YouTube channel, Experimental, on May 21st. And that ended all of this. That was the end of my experiment. Well, not really. If you see how much more time is in this video, it's not the end at all. Actually, this whole thing was the end of stage 1 in my experiment out of 4. There were 4 stages. This was just the first one. Because I know that's a whole thing and I don't want to go into it all right now, but let's just say that I did make a little bit, like definitely not as much as I had recorded within this whole spectrum, but I did record like 1 or 2 videos, a few pictures here and there within the month of May, and I decided that I would wait a little and then post them all in October. So if I took something here, it would go until October 21st. And the reason I say October 21st, directly 5 months after May 21st, is because the same guy that said that the world was going to end on May 21st, when that didn't happen in the real year of 2011, he kind of revised his statement and said, oh, God really didn't end the world. He didn't reappear and bring his people home that day. He just judged the world and decided who he would pick. So now it was our turn to decide. And then he revised his statement and said that the real judgment day, the real day that the rapture would happen, was on October 21st, 2011. So that's why on the final post of the Reddit, there's another picture of me holding a staff, saying something about killing God, of course. But then at the very bottom, there's a date, and it says October 21st, 2011, or whatever. And then the title of the picture also says soon. Soon did not happen, as I'll get into that. But this was the idea. Of course, the experiment wasn't dead. I was not able to finish it. I just couldn't stop this creative process because, again, it had become my life. I was literally trapped in creating this art film project that didn't make any sense. Like I was dead set on furthering the story, and that is really where I think that it went wrong, because all of this never made sense. But everything that comes out later, definitely, like if this stuff makes total perfect sense in comparison to what's going to come in, like what I make like in between these dates. So I'll get into that probably now. Let me go somewhere else. Okay, so basically what has just happened is that I have ended the experiment, or stage 1 of the experiment, the only part that has any semblance to what I originally was planning for the project. But you know how it still goes on because I can't learn how to end things. So I ended it on May 21st, and I kind of left it open-ended to where it kind of hinted at a return on October 21st, which again harkens back to the second apocalypse date in 2011. So that's about 5 months, exactly 5 months between, with relatively no posting. Now I did post a few videos in between those, just as kind of like teasers that didn't really have any substance, but the video that I originally planned to start off stage 2 of the experiment, to just be the introductory video for the new chapter, was recorded on May 27th, so not long at all after the last official video on the channel. I didn't really utilize the Reddit that much, but I definitely was planning on doing. So with this new kind of chapter of the story, or really act of the story, I used a very different method than what I had been doing. Because before it was just, point the camera, just have the camera watching things, random things. I didn't really care a whole lot until the very end what I was filming. It was just kind of random moments that really the only semblance of a story was in the title or description of the photo or video. But with this video, it was I was talking directly to the camera, as I am now, this same exact camera, except I was at a different location. And it brings back a lot of ideas that I expressed originally in the experiment, because again, it wasn't long after I had finished the series, so I did have a lot of those ideas on my mind. Most notably the simulation thing. I kept like mentioning production terms. Like I kind of pretended like there was a whole like crew working on it. I was talking about graphics, random things, and the video is just a really strange rant of mine, and it didn't really make any sense. The best you could probably get from the video is that I made something, and that something, I guess, is implied to be the world, which provides a question, and it's like, I thought you broke out of this world. You know, wasn't that the point of the first whole act of this narrative, is that you broke out of your prison? And to that I say, I have no idea why that happened. Yeah, so stage 2 doesn't, I don't know what happens sort of between stage 1 and 2, but I'm just gonna say, let's pretend that I return, just for novelty's sake. So I'm back, and I'm back in my prison, and I need to escape again, essentially, is the kind of idea that I'm going into it. But now I'm more direct. I'm talking to the camera, and this is supposed to be the introductory video, you know, to the second stage. And like I said, there are actually 4 stages that I am planning, and I brought my whiteboard out here just to provide a little visual here. So, you see that? So this is the whiteboard kind of thing, and stage 1, which is everything that I've talked to thus far, is here. That is stage 1, and you notice I have a whole lot of a calendar left. Stage 2 begins roughly the same time that it ended, and goes about until like right here, which is a lot. It's a lot longer of a series, but you'll see that I start stage 3 relatively close to the same time I start stage 2, and I'll talk about like the overlapping of this, and that goes until November, and then stage 4 picks up where stage 2 kind of left off, and it's very strange how it's oriented. Kind of stage 3 overlaps a lot of it, but I will get to that eventually. But for now, just know that that's how that is structured for now. So, anyways, so this begins a pattern. I start talking to the camera more. The very next video that I plan on making is actually a birthday message to the one, the only Halo, the character that I kind of made up, and I'm growing concerningly attached to for some reason. But I'm just kind of thanking them for sticking by me and just like, supporting me and everything. And this is where like kind of the themes get a little bit lost, because after this I don't really talk about a lot of the themes that I talk about, like the fish and the grass. They're still there, definitely. In fact, I have a whole video where I just stand in a field and talk about grass. Multiple videos, actually, where I stand in a field and talk about grass for about 8 minutes each. So that's basically it, and I'm talking about it like just it's this cool thing, and very loosely aligned to what I had previously like notioned about grass in the previous parts. It still does retain a lot of the original ideas. I'm trying to escape. I don't like where I am, and overall, it just echoes the whole, the feeling that I'm becoming trapped in my own work, my own creation, you know, as the greenhouse in the thing, but also it's very clear that I'm referencing the project that I'm working on. You know, the experiment itself was kind of also the prison that I was working in, because I didn't like working on the project, because the more specific it grew and the more it was like, okay, this has to happen in this video. I have to make the video exactly like this and on this specific day, because again, dates are very specific and I can't lie about the date. So if I want to do something on this specific date, it has to happen on this specific date. So, you know, it was very draining, and it was very difficult for me to do, kind of in a healthy sense. You know what I'm saying? And I reference at a lot of times how, you know, this experiment was not supposed to go this way. I'm kind of sabotaging myself. You know, the whole thing was supposed to be just this funny, random whatever that didn't mean anything, and now that I've given it meaning when it never was supposed to have meaning, now it's bringing me into just like, you know, I'm trying to make sense of something that I didn't want to make sense, you know? And that's really hard, because if you're starting it off as abstract as I did, and you're trying to tie it all in together, it's never going to work, because you have to have a concrete idea, or at least a semi-solid idea of what you're trying to do, your creative vision. You can't just make everything up on the fly. And that's exactly what I did. And sometimes winging it doesn't really work, and that's kind of the whole lesson here. Always plan beforehand. That's what I have sort of learned from this whole experience. But anyways, what I was saying is that this whole thing began a new era of me speaking directly to the camera and just kind of introducing the world. You know, I'm talking about vague topics like grass and things, and I am referencing very personal events from my life. But ultimately, the meaning becomes lost because I am not very clear. The potential audience, does not really know what's going on, because this doesn't really have any connection to any other thing, other than like maybe the vague topic that the video is about. And so it's very, very hard to understand and put together, even when I'm trying, I guess, to do that. So yeah, there's a lot of talk of me being very anti, authority, just trying to I'm trying to live myself. I'm trying to break out of this oppressive system that I have made. I talk a lot of an unnamed them as kind of a nod to my parents, because I am referencing that personal effect, and also the them is also kind of just like my thoughts of oppression, because I don't know if I reference my parents themselves at any point in the experiment, but it's kind of just like I'm tying that into my own thoughts of I can't be what I want, I can't do what I want, and I want to do what I want. That's the whole thing, I guess. So that begins with the month of June, which doesn't really have a lot. It's mostly just that kind of talking to the camera video shtick that I did. I think probably around 6 to 8 times in total during that month. But June began what I came to call Spite Month. Nope, not Pride Month. That's what it normally is. But no, I'm angry at the people that do not let me participate in Pride Month per se. So I'm making my own month. It's called Spite Month, and it's just me being spiteful during the month, and it doesn't really even come across as that. There's only really one video that that really kind of gives the cynical, just kind of spiteful, angry vibe, I guess, to the month, as I had called it, and that was actually the first video in Stage 3. So Stage 3 kind of began in amidst Stage 2, but it was not supposed to be a part of the stage, and I know that doesn't really make sense, but let's just put it this way. In Stage 2, it's kind of like a building on what was me in Stage 1. It's kind of this character, which I think I called myself K a lot of times, I don't know, and it's just you know, me being kind of open, kind of honest, kind of just like exploring the world, looking for a way out. And stage 3 is kind of the them, you know, taking shape in me. You know, me being overly negative, me being overly, you know, just you know, kind of edgy. You know, really, it just comes across like a lot of times. It's just like me just trying to be cool, and just, you know, not really doing it. Because all stage 3 really was at this point was me going out at night and walking down the road for about 10 minutes each. And this little series that made up the beginning of stage 3 was called Out on the Town. And this is why it was kind of in between the stage 2 uploads, is because it was more of like when I would go out on the town, as I would say, and just be this kind of exaggerated persona of someone who doesn't care anymore and is above the law and acts like that. That was stage 3. That was the character that I created for stage 3, and it was very sparsely videos. I only really made, I think, about like maybe 12 stage 3 videos in total, but they kind of do just like, you know, they go along, I will say, with stage 2 and stage 4, and ultimately the stage 3 kind of melds with stage 4 at the very end, which I'll talk about later. Anyways, so that's what started in Spite Month of June, which didn't really have anything to go for it other than that, and the rest of the videos that really weren't a part of it, because it was just me talking to the camera, like I've said. Anyways, so in July, actually the first week of July, 4th of July weekend and week, I took a vacation. Our whole family took a vacation to the Colorado mountain ranges, and it was really fun, for the most part. And I recorded a lot there. There was a lot of stage 2 material there. Not as much as of me talking to the camera, more of just atmospheric shots, you know, just like still images of, you know, the forest, the mountains, including a 20-minute one where I go out into a field and you can see me waving a flashlight around for like 20 minutes while a post-rock song plays in the background. And that's that. You know, ones where I'm just kind of just acting really weird around a chair, just like standing up and sitting down, not really doing anything. A lot of like anti-parent, like religious stuff happening, where it's really just me like recording stuff that other people are saying. A lot of stuff, and a lot of very important stuff, or important stuff as I say, because it was like I did a lot of, I guess, important things. I introduced a language that I created, which is kind of like a code or a cipher or something, which is basically, you know, how every letter has a number, like A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. I just kind of mixed it around, where A was like 11, and S was 3, and like Z was 21 or something. It was just, I just completely randomized it, and that was my new language. So I would like write things in that language, and without seeing like maybe the one image I had of the translations that I was planning on posting to Reddit, you would have no idea what that meant. And that language does become very prevalent in the later portions of the experiment. But I introduce it in Colorado. There is a segment of a hike that I actually did not finish because of a very personal situation, which involved, looking back on it now, it's funny, but it was probably traumatic for everyone involved back then, where there was a huge fight that happened, and I ended up having to run 5 miles through the Colorado wilderness back to our cabin. And yeah, I didn't get that on video, unfortunately. That would have been sick. But no, that did not happen. And it was cool, you know. The trip took a very, you know, not fun turn after that, and we kind of just left in silence after that. The air conditioning is coming on now. But anyways, I recorded a huge amount of material, not like incredibly integral to the plot, except maybe the language bit, but it was really nice, and it was like one of the only times that I had a lot of stuff that I wanted to actually make. The other time being like the other trip to San Antonio in April. But anyway, we returned from that. I didn't make any new videos, well, a whole lot of new videos for the rest of the month of July. That kind of first week was the big July thing. I did go to church camp in late July, the very last week of July, but I didn't film anything of it. And there's actually a whole video on the playlist that I mentioned of me just not really talking about the experiment. It's just me ranting about how bad summer camp was. And I actually think that video is kind of funny, even now looking back on it. So there's that. But anyway, August begins. And August is a very, very important month for me in the experiment. It has its own little mini arc. August is like its own little spin-off arc, but it's very important to the actual plot because yeah, God returns. Yes, the God represented in the chair that I kicked over back in March, it returns in the form of another chair. In fact, this chair that I am sitting on right now, this chair right here, I used this chair to symbolize God 2, God Part 2. He's back and he's sitting here. Actually, there's just like right over there where those two trees are. That's where God now resided. He's back, guys, and I was not prepared for that, and I'm kind of panicking, or that's the vibe that I want to create, is that I'm panicking, and then all of a sudden, God kills Halo. You can't kill my boyfriend without me getting really, really mad about it, so I kind of experiment with the, trying to do the 5 stages of grief, the anger, the whatever. But a lot of it is actually just me walking through a room and looking sad. I mean, there's supposed to be a lot of character development going on here, but it's kind of just like a still shot of my bedroom and me lying on the floor going like that, or just laying down and crying, or just moving in the background. It's like you can't really tell what's going on if I don't explicitly say anything, which I was planning to do, but of course it didn't really work out. There was another thing that happened around the same time, is that I visited my grandparents' house, and they actually gave me an old 1990s cassette camcorder. And that was really cool because I love vintage technology. As I said, whole old found footage analog horror stuff, that's right up my alley. So I was really happy, and I could bring it down and show it, but that's up in my room and I don't want to run all the way down and create more time for me to edit out of this video. So anyways, I took this camera, and there was only really one tape that had it blank space in it, and it was half of the tape was full up of baby pictures and the other half was blank, so I kind of recorded my own stuff that went along with the experiment in the second half, and that went until about October. I started recording little bits and pieces, starting with the chair, of course, in August, and then went until just random parts in October. That specific everything with the tape itself, it wasn't really integral to any of it. It was kind of just another look at what was going on. You have the main plot, but then you kind of just have it happening at a distance, and that is what's going on in the camcorder. There's no new information going on in the camcorder. It's just a bunch of events that are go along with the plot of the experiment, but just don't really add anything to it. Anyways, so I am grieving this imaginary entity that I created in my mind, and that I don't really know what it meant to me. I know that there was this topic of warmth, and there was this whole thing in the first stage where I was warmth is supposed to mean connection and support, and just the feeling that you are loved. And the fact that I had to create an imaginary person to represent that for me is telling, perhaps, but we're not going to talk about that. But anyways, so I start September, which is still going along with the August kind of arc. At the very end of August, I finally have enough of the whole, the chair thing, this God thing. You know, I killed God once, I'll do it again. And so the final video of the chair's awful reign on my life is basically a 4-minute video of me running for 3.5 minutes, and finally I stop running when I get to the chair and I throw it into the woods over there. Yep, and that's me killing him again. And then I finally have this big, actually really cool video that I am sad is now deleted. And I put this chair like in the middle of a burn pile. I put a bunch of like boxes and sticks and leaves around it, and I lit it on fire. And there's this whole video as like it's getting dark, and then all you see is just the chair, you know, being enveloped in flames. And then when the flames die down, you know, it's just like a mist of like red and orange and smoke, and a battery that was placed in there exploded right at the right moment. It was really cool, and Godspeed You Black Emperor was playing the entire time. It was a really cool video, and honestly probably the best thing that I've ever recorded, and the fact that it's gone will haunt me. But that's kind of marred by the fact that the worst video that I've ever recorded was recorded immediately after that. In fact, it involves me acting sad again, acting really like, again, in the bathtub while an Imagine Dragons song plays. So, yeah, we really have the juxtaposition of the quality of ideas that I had at the time. So anyways, that kind of ends the whole August arc. You know, I'm kind of, I have my retribution, I have my revenge against God for killing probably the only person that supported me through this hellscape journey. That's August, and really that's kind of like, I sometimes see that as the end of stage 2, but really stage 2 continues for quite a while after that until October. Now the main thing with September is that the 18th of September is a very, very personal date for me in my personal life, and at this point it was kind of the basis of I explained it as why the world that I created was 2011. So let's just say in this fictional universe that I created it on September 18th, 2020, and then that became September 18th, 2010. Basically, that's when I created the world. And that's kind of going back to the personal issue that I am dancing around. Well, not really, because I keep bringing it up, but whatever. So anyways, so September 18th is kind of the new year. It's kind of New Year's. And, you know, September 18th is in if I can talk. In the experiment, the video is just going to be, it implied that I just take the camera and walk a very long way to the park, and there was that moment, but it's like, it's kind of a shift. It's kind of a shift, because I know that with the new year and with my newfound, like, confidence after killing God a second time, I know what I have to do. I know that I have to let go of the past. I have to let go of all of this that is burdening me. I have to let go of this experiment, of this world, of this greenhouse that is 2011, if I want to survive. Because at this point it was very much taking a toll on my personal life and character. I was becoming obsessed with it, and it wasn't even good, and I hated it the whole time. It was around this point that I absolutely hated doing the project, but I had to do it anyway because I started it and I can't finish it. So that all culminates kind of on October 21st, you know, the day that Stage 2 is set to begin. Which, again, I posted the original videos and a few more after it. So Stage 2 is officially back in session as far as uploading goes. But that same day, is actually when I when I ended stage 2 in the filming aspect. So it's kind of strange that I start the presentation on the exact same day that I end the proposal or whatever, or the filming. So it's kind of like I start the chapter of this whole series on the exact same day that I end it. Of course, the ending is really kind of lackluster compared to the ending of the August little arc thing, where it's like just me kicking the chair and there's this big dramatic moment. Really, the climax and ending of stage 2 is just me taking all of these papers that I've briefly showed throughout various videos that have kind of like symbolized me being held back by my project, by my world, and burning them all down and pouring gasoline on the fire. Again, it's another fire video. It's kind of anticlimactic, and I really don't like it, but at this point I was very much out of ideas. Meanwhile, in stage 3, you know, the cynical kind of just like apathetic persona that I'm portraying is getting a little bit more, you know, nuanced. It's like seeing a little bit more into things other than they're just like, yeah, fuck this thing, fuck that thing. And it's just like, I'm getting more desperate. You kind of, I was trying to go for, like, you can kind of like see this character being peeled back a bit. You know, you see who this character actually is, besides their edgy facade. But another thing that I really don't understand, and again it was me just kind of hating on religion and conservatism, and it's basically just me kind of making like a fake like conservative talk show where it's just me again talking to the camera, but I'm no longer talking about redundant things. I'm talking about like women and how they don't deserve rights, or gay people or how they don't deserve rights, and that thing. And it was just me. It was sarcastic, but it was just kind of, you know, it's just me saying, this minority is bad and I don't like them. Reason, I don't know. It was just me just kind of just putting on the face of being angry, and it doesn't really fit in anywhere else with the story. It's just because I was, I guess, mad at that at the time as like a kid. I don't know. I don't know what I was doing. But anyways, so this all kind of ends at the beginning of stage 4. And kind of the precursor to stage 4 is that there was an issue on my computer. That it was with the OneDrive, and it wasn't the same thing that happened with the few videos that do remain on the computer. It was a thing with storage, and I wanted to transfer the folder, and something happened. And as it turns out, a large amount of the photos and videos I had taken midsummer actually got completely erased from the folder that I was planning to use. So that meant that the vast majority of all of the pictures and videos I took during Colorado, which was a lot, by the way. I took a lot of pictures and videos during that Colorado trip in July, and they were all mostly gone in what I was going to refer to as the purge, which is, it was a significant portion of my content, because it wasn't just the Colorado trip. It was a lot of stuff that had happened in June, a lot of the stuff that had already been posted already. About maybe, I would say, like maybe a fifth of my entire folder was just completely gone. Most of it in Colorado, and that was very upsetting, but that kind of set the stage for, this needs to happen now. I have to leave now. I have to end this series now. I was slowly posting more and more videos at the beginning of stage 2, you know, for the viewer, the potential viewer that would come in, like, let's say like November 1st, they really wouldn't see a lot happening in stage 2. It was kind of just setting the scene for what I was doing. It was just a bunch of videos of me talking to the camera without any like real plot going on. Now, what I was planning to do, I was going to extend the uploading for stage 2 into maybe like spring 2022, and then kind of like you know, kind of spread out releases of stage 4 and stage 3 kind of between that, but also I was planning on posting the final video of Stage 4, which I'm about to get to, on, I think, November 15th, 2022, which is a very important date for me as well, November 15th, and I'm about to kind of get into why. And then make it like a, after everything is posted, after the experiment is actually over, or at least I would hope it was actually over by that time, I would post a kind of a, not a reunion video, but kind of just like a reflection video on the final video, just like the final everything, the final post video, anything. This was the final nail in the coffin, or at least it was planning to, is just a kind of a retrospective of me talking to the camera, and that was supposed to be posted on December 21st, 2022, which again calls back to December 21st, 2012, 10 years earlier in the universe that I created, which, of course, is the date that everyone thought the world was going to end because of the Mayan calendar thing. So that kind of brings it into that. That's what I planned to do, but as it turns out, it ended kind of an entire year earlier. So, armed with this new, desire to get out for one final time, it started as a kind of just a series of videos of me just kind of walking back over everything that I've touched before, like my old world, and kind of just saying goodbye to it slowly as I'd pick a random song to go behind it, and me saying it's over, and I'm sorry, but I must leave you now, and just bad dramatic stuff. But anyway, the final video that I was planning to make and post on November 15th, the final actual plot video anyways, I recorded it actually on November 15th, 2021, so an entire year before I was originally planning to post it. This was the final series of videos that just ties up, or at least tries to tie up everything in the experiment, everything that I've done so far, from the beginning of just the complete random and absurdity of the posts, to the religious imagery and me killing God twice, the Spite Month thing, the Stage 3 thing, the whole Purge incident, and everything with that, and just everything in between, was supposed to be tied up in this one video. And how was I going to do it? By running away. I actually snuck out in the middle of the night and stole a car, or my parents' car. It was just sitting there, and I kind of knew how to drive it. But anyway, I took it down to the river. No one knew I was there, and it started out as kind of a Stage 3 video. You know, me angry, kind of just I have to get out, I have to get out, I have to get out. And then it just clicks mid-video and switches to a Stage 4 video where I become the actual character of me. Not the K character of actual Stage 2, and not the cynical character of Stage 3. They kind of join together mid-video to form me. Not a character, literally the person of me, because this is very important to me, personally. This is a very big representation of me letting go of everything that's been, making 2021 the worst year of my life, and I don't say that lightly. It was the worst year of my life by far. So this video is kind of supposed to be cathartic. It was supposed to be me finally freeing myself of all of this. And then, well, the first part of the video was supposed to be just me running away, getting to the river. The second part was supposed to be it was supposed to be around an hour long, and just me monologuing the entire time, kind of just explaining, really personal details of the experiment and what it meant to me and my life, while the sun rose over the river. And that was supposed to be kind of a beautiful, just ending note for the series. Because it was the very, very last video that I was planning on recording, besides the retrospective that would come a year later. And I screwed that up. I screwed the final video up extremely badly. So this camera, I was planning on, you know, I wanted to record it all on this camera, because that's what I've been doing for everything. But the one problem is that this camera, as I said somewhere before, is that it only records up to 20 minutes. I'm actually going to check the camera to make sure it's still recording. I couldn't record this entire huge video on this camera because it would end after 20 minutes. And instead of maybe, like, I was thinking of maybe I would do a part where I, like, cover it briefly and then end the video and then start another video. But I was just worried that the battery wasn't going to be able to take it because this camera's battery isn't that good anyway. So I had to borrow another camera without asking, because it's like, oh, I'll just need it for this one video, and then I'll bring it back, and it'll be like nothing ever happened, and it's cool, it's fine. But I screwed it up because that camera did not properly attach to the tripod. This whole thing happened, and we'll just say that the camera fell into the river, along with the SD card and everything from the past probably 3 or 4 weeks was immediately lost. In that very one instant at the very end of the final video, which is kind of really funny because it was at this moment that I realized that I was screwed, essentially. So in a panic, and kind of a really ironic just fit of despair, I freed myself of my prison, of the experiment. And the way I did that was erasing everything. I immediately went back to the house where my parents were very worried about me, obviously, because I had taken the car out somewhere, and I didn't have any sort of license or anything. But anyways, actually I had my permit by then, but that's another story. And I deleted the entire experimental TV folder on my computer. I deleted the YouTube channel. I attempted to delete the subreddit, but I actually only deleted my account, and the subreddit is still active, or, well, it's still up, I should say. And that was a very, very bad day for me, but it was actually probably, it's funny because the day that my life was the closest to ending was actually the day that probably saved my life from future pain, because finally, it was over. So, that is the story of experimental TV. The most ambitious and probably worst thing that I have ever created thus far. This video has gone very long, as expected, because again, it's such a incomprehensibly, like, incoherent piece of thing that I've done, that it's very hard to explain. And I have missed out, haven't talked about a lot of the little things that happen. I've kind of just summarized all of the main events, and I'm trying to think if I've missed any, because again, it was a huge project that I've worked on, one that completely controlled my life for about 8 months. And I am glad it's over. It was very bad. I still do hold that. There were good ideas present, of course, but just ultimately the execution just was awful, and the presentation was, you could not follow it at all. Even I'm having trouble following it right now. But this experiment changed my life. It changed how I approach creative things, you know, how I think about doing things and creating pieces of art and work and media that I want to create, because this was incredibly influential, as terrible as it was, to the knowledge that I have now. Without this experiment, I definitely would not be anywhere close to where I am today, and if that is a good or bad thing, I don't know, but I don't care, because this is the path that I chose, and there's nothing that I can do to change it as much as I try to forget this experiment. I'm putting this video out here now. Probably the only person that is ever going to watch the entire thing is future me, maybe. I don't even know if I can sit through another retelling. Of course, if for some reason there needs to be more information about this experiment. If someone wants to know every single thing that I did in the year 2021, then there's a playlist that I mentioned and will probably put in the description that goes very, very in depth of what I did, and it's even more just thrown together than this is, because it's just me talking again for like 40 minutes at a time. So if you want to see that, then you can see that. Otherwise, I'm probably going to stop the video now. That was my experiment. I'm sorry that you had to hear about it. I hope you're having a great day, evening, night. And please, if there's anything that you can gain from this, is if you think that what you're making is bad, just know that it is nowhere near the horrendousness of my experiment. And I think that's it. That's all I'm going to say. See, this entire video is me just saying things without a script. And I'm actually, I said that I need to get the whiteboard back on the wall.